Hi, I'm Heather from Here Booktubes, and this is the mid-year book freakout tag. I love this tag. I have thoroughly enjoyed it for the time that I've watched BookTube, and I did make it last year right after I started my channel, and I'm excited to do it again. This is literally the only tag that I watch on a consistent basis, or I'm excited about doing, or at least have been excited about doing. Like, this is the tag that I enjoy watching. So I just think that the questions are really timely and good and accurate. I don't know. I like it. Here I am making my version again. Did I forget to look crap up? Yes, I did. Let's see how many books I've read so far this year. Goodreads. Give it to me. So far, I have read 133 books out of my 200 book reading challenge on Goodreads. This does not count any of my DNFs, which is new to me. So that's a much higher number. But 133 books. So let's see which ones have left the biggest impact on me. I'm not gonna lie, I struggled with some of these answers, but it's fine. Okay, best book you've read so far. For me, this is A Heart, Blood, and Ashes by Milla. Vane. This is the book that has stuck with me, that has just, I don't know, has made the biggest impact. And I think a lot of it is that I come from reading fantasy. I don't read much fantasy anymore. I lose patience and DNF frequently, but I do sometimes miss the feeling that I got from fantasy, even though I don't have the patience to actually read it, because like I can read it anytime I want, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, so A Heart, Blood, and Ashes is fantasy romance, and it's a barbarian romance. So if you want alpha over the top, treats her a little bit like an enemy, a little bit like an ally before he treats her as his woman, if that makes sense, then I think that you would like this. If you're like, I don't think he should be treating her this way, I find this unforgivable, then you might have issues with it. For me, I very much viewed it as enemies to lovers, and him being blinded by his grief because he believes that she is responsible for the death of his parents, who were brutally murdered by her family, who is a ruling family. And so he's like the general who's now going to become the king of the Plains people, and she is a princess who rightfully should rule her country, but has been locked up by her father because he wants to maintain power, and she is disabled and also very weak from basically living in captivity her entire life. But she is the smartest character, and I just love their book so much. I love them so much. I read this in January because Naima from Naima Reads gifted it to me in the romance booktuber Secret Santa, and I did a vlog where I read the books that she had bought me, and I loved it so much. I read it in January, and it's still like my favorite book of the year so far. The next question is best sequel. For me, I think this is going to be Kate Daniels, which is it's the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. I have read books 8, 8.5, and 9 so far this year. It's a 10-book series, and I do very much plan on reading the 10th book, but I still haven't. I actually have it checked out from the library right now, but I haven't read it in a week, and I haven't even started it, and I think it might be due in like a couple days. I don't know. I should probably look into that. So I plan on finishing the series, but I just adore this series. It is urban fantasy romance, and she is a mercenary and he is the Lord of the Shifters, and I just love it. There's so many things in the series, especially in these sequels of course, that make me feel like they continue to be greatness and not disappointing, but I can't tell you because there are many books into a series, and so the things that really endear the series to me would be spoilers. But just know that I am very much enjoying finishing up this series, and I do not feel like in any way that the later books, you know, fall off. If anything, I would say they maybe are the best in the series. For this, I would also say Return of the Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. This is the 6th book in the Thief series, and this is a young adult fantasy series that I've been reading for most of my life. I read the first book when I was 11 or 12. I'm now 30. And the 6th book just came out last year, the final book. This series is greatness. It has disability rep. It has so many things in it that I just find to be clever and poignant and can point out the way that you might be mistreating people in your own life, right? Or in your own society. I think that it does that well. I love these books because the end of each book turns what you just read on its head and is a plot twist and is a perspective and alignment of what other people were doing and knew that you didn't get throughout the book, and each book in the series is like that. And while there is a main character of the series, in fact there are several main characters in the series and there is one kind of centralized character, and each book, while still focusing on their stories, comes from a different perspective. So the first book, you get the perspective of the thief, which is the name, and you also get introduced to several main characters. And then in the 2nd book, things change and shift. And the 3rd book, you get a completely different viewpoint of somebody that you've never met before. And that continues to happen in the other books. Some of them are characters that you have seen in the previous books, but they're all people that you haven't seen their perspective at all yet. And that is just so fascinating to me. It is unique in a way that I've just never read another series quite like this one, and I felt like this final book did wrap the series up really well. It wasn't a disappointment. It felt like what we'd been waiting for. I just enjoyed the whole series. I actually reread the whole series before reading this finale, so I didn't miss anything because it is pretty intricate without appearing to be very difficult to read. It does have a lot of references to things that have already happened, and you kind of need to be aware of what they are referencing, but I just felt like it was the ending that I had been waiting for, and I really, really enjoyed it. Next, we have new release that you didn't read yet but want to. Hi, hello. I read some of my anticipated releases, but I read a lot of older books, backlist books, if you will. I'm definitely not reading a majority of new releases, if that makes sense. So one for this would be The Thrall by Jessica Gadziala. I got an arc of this. I haven't read it yet. I got the arc when I was doing my anniversary trip, and I haven't read a single book since I got back. So I haven't read that yet, but that is a demon motorcyclist and the thrall of a vampire having a romance. They meet at a BDSM club or bar, and it's all supernaturals and stuff. I am very excited to read it. I know a couple of other reviewers who have read it, and I of course love the series, love Jessica Gadziala, but I think the Thrall sounds so interesting and I haven't even started it yet, and I'm sad. Another one that I am just waiting for my library to make available to me, it's been checked out for since it came out, is Zal A for Aunties by Jessie. My handwriting. Sutanto, I think, if I remember correctly. This is kind of a mix between a rom-com and a crime-com. It's not like a mystery because she knows what's going on. Okay, so she goes on a blind date, and I believe he attempts some sort of sexual assault type of thing. I don't know what it is, but she accidentally kills her blind date, and then instead of disposing of the body correctly, it gets shipped to the wedding that her family is like catering for, and then her long lost love shows up, second chance romance, I think. I have heard that is very much like a family drama and a mystery and a rom-com, so I am anticipating it not being completely focused on the romance like what I tend to prefer, but I think it sounds hilarious and I want to read it so badly, so definitely that one also. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This is hands down for me, Queen by Katee Robert. This is the 3rd and final book in her Bloodline Vampires reverse harem, which is actually polyamorous because all 4 of the people who aren't people because they're supernaturals, all 4 of them have a relationship with each other. So it is truly polyamorous rather than reverse harem. But I just love this series. It is the perfect amount of dark and bloody, sexy vampires and plot and focus. It's them trying to save the world via sex, and they're vampires and vampires, and there's just so much goodness in it. It's just the right blend for me. So I do not reread books, The Thief excluded. I don't go back and restart a series because I'm going to try and catch up. I don't do that. I just pick up where I'm at and muddle my way through. But I just enjoy it so much that I fully plan on rereading Sacrifice and Heir before Queen comes out, and I'm just so excited. And the way you know I'm so excited is I don't buy books, generally speaking, right? I read them on Kindle Unlimited or from my library. And so the number of books that I actually buy is significantly lower than the amount of books that I read. I have tried to pre-order Queen like 5 different times, and every time I go to pre-order it, I already have it pre-ordered. That shows you how much I am anticipating this book. I will read it the second it comes out. Number 5, biggest disappointment for this one. I have 2, and they're by favorite authors of mine, and I am just surprised and disappointed that they're on this list. But the first one is going to be, what is the name of this? Shadows, which is The Dark in You, number 5 by Suzanne Wright. I read and loved the first 4 books, and this one did not work for me. The trauma in it is really what made it so disappointing for me. It just ruined my enjoyment of the book completely. I mentioned this in my May wrap up because I did read it in May, but I didn't like it at all. Not only were the traumatic parts things that just ruined it for me, but the rest of the book did not redeem those parts at all. So I gave it 2 stars. I debated giving it 1 star. It was a big disappointment. The other one is I reread Hide and Seek by Layla Frost. I know it's not as good as I remember, guys. So the main thing I think is I had forgotten that the alpha love interest, one, has a bad temper and throws stuff when he's angry, and like I just cannot get down with that. I don't condone it. I'm not a fan. I don't like it. It's like I don't think you should throw stuff every time you get mad. You're a grown man. That's just my thing. I don't let my 6-year-old throw stuff when he gets mad. Like that's a no-go. It's not tolerated. It's not something that I want my 26-year-old son to do. So I do not let my 6-year-old son express his anger by throwing things. So I just wasn't okay with that. And then the other thing was he was so insecure. Like, I get it, whatever, you've been used by women in the past because you're hot and rich, whatever. I understand you having your issues. We all do. But he was so insecure, and I was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So, like, every single one of their dramas and misunderstandings and fights, which it wasn't, like, miscommunication. Like, they would hash it out. But it was all, like, him being insecure and getting mad about it. And I was just like, what? What though? And then as I was rereading it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember like debating if I was going to overlook this or not, but I had completely forgotten about it, and so I'm bummed. I'm real bummed about it. Number 6, biggest surprise. This is probably hands down If She Says Yes by Tasha L. Harrison. I adored this book. First of all, I bought it. Again, rare. I bought it on ebook. Let's not get crazy. I don't like buy physical books because I enjoy them. That's not what I do. But I bought it after recommendation, and I thought I would like it, but it's a new to me author, and I DNF a lot of new to me authors, I'm not gonna lie to you. But also it's an age gap where the woman is older and the younger man is her son's best friend, which he's like 30. She's 55. He's like 32. But he's also submissive and like a cinnamon roll, and that's not my vibe. I really like alphas in my books for the most part. And it was so hot and I adored it so much. Like, I'm gonna reread this book this year. Absolutely. I just adored it, and I was so surprised at the amount of heat that was not only included in this book, but that it made me feel reading it, when it's like a dynamic that I'm not really into. But I was into it in this book. I really was. This book is the only book that I can remember in recent memory that gave me physical butterflies. And I was just like, oh my God. Wow. This is good. This is good stuff. So this one, it's delightful. Her son is getting married, and so Thomas, I'm not saying it right. It's fine. I always try to say it right because there's like a character in the book who doesn't say it right on purpose, and it's like, oh, we can't stand you. But also, like, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong. What was I even saying? Oh, he's in town because he's her son's best friend for her son's wedding. And it's good stuff. I don't like weddings. I'm not into submissive men. It's good. It's so good. It's so good. Editing Heather here and Kat. So I completely skipped a question, and that is favorite new to you author. And for this, it would definitely be Milla Vane, along with her pen name of Meljean Brooks, because she's the only new to me author that I've read 2 of their books this year and given them 5 stars. So I did mention briefly that I've been DNFing so many new authors. It's kind of a problem, I feel like. But I literally only have one. She's the only one that I've read 2 books of and gave both 5 stars. First one is A Heart, Blood, and Ashes. That's under her Milla Vane pen name. And then the other one is The Iron Duke, which is under her Meljean Brooks pen name. And this is like a steampunk alternate history story of a duke who was actually a pirate and saved London and England from the Mongolian horde, who also somehow created zombies, and they had nanotechnology that they were using to control everybody. And the half Asian investigator who crosses paths with him because a dead body shows up on his doorstep. And so there is quite a bit of Asian hate against the inspector, against the main character, because of the horde. So even though she was just as much a victim as everybody else, she's literally not safe in public because they can tell that she has Asian heritage. So that plays a big part in the book, but there's a lot of other things. But it's like steampunk, alternate history, zombies, all sorts of things. Very interesting, and I gave it 5 stars. Honorary mentions would go to Chace, Verity, who I read for the first time this year. I've given both of their books that I've read 4 stars. First one being Dealing with the Demon, which is a really cute novella about a demon house husband, basically. And the other one is The Masked Minotaur, which is a sapphic, almost Zorro-like retelling of a literal minotaur who goes around saving people from robbers and things like that. And a wife who's in a unhappy marriage of convenience, but is intrigued by the masked minotaur. So I gave both of those 4 stars. And then the other honorary mention would be Tasha L. Harrison. I read If She Says Yes, gave it 5 stars. And I also read Taste of Her Own Medicine and gave that 4 stars, which is another older woman, younger man story by her where the woman is newly divorced and is a single mom and is taking an entrepreneur course, and he's the teacher. And it's really good too. But those are, that's it. That's all I've got. But yeah, Milla Vane / Meljean Brook is literally the only one I've read 2 books that I've been given 5 stars that I hadn't read before 2021. So it's kind of sad. Should fix that. Oh, yes. Okay. Forgot number 9, number 8. Forgot number 8 also. Newest fictional crush, which is almost also Tomas. Tomas. Mass or Moss? Tomas? No, Tomas. It's also him from If She Says Yes. He really did it for me, okay? And like, if I pop back in here, I don't know what to tell you. Honestly, things are spiraling out of control over here. And seriously, if you see me again, like, take pity on me because I don't know what to tell you. Number 9, newest favorite character. For this one, I would say for sure Yvonne from A Heart, Blood, and Ashes. She's like the smartest character. I loved her. I absolutely loved reading about her and her mind and the way that she interacted with people and the way that she was bound and determined to just persevere, right? And I just absolutely adored her. She is the princess character that I have been waiting for. She was greatness. And then also Finn and Poppy from The Cleaner by Gadziala. I loved them so much. I have always kind of been intrigued by Finn in the previous books in the series, but I loved being in his head and reading about him. And I loved Poppy. So Finn is the cleaner for the fixer agency, so he cleans up crime scenes so that their clients don't get caught. And Poppy is a true crime podcaster who has figured out that there's these different crime scenes where it's this specific scented cleaner and she can't find it in any stores, and she thinks that there's a serial killer and that is the tie, but it's actually crime scenes that he's cleaned. So the hacker for the fixer agency comes to Finn and tells him, look, she's been looking into it and you're the issue. I know you don't like change because he has severe OCD because of trauma and PTSD. And that's why he's so good at his job. But not only that, that's why he has the job, because he needs the outlet to clean, and regular homekeeping isn't enough. So it works out for him to be the cleaner, right? She's like, you know, you've got to change something because she's onto you. And if she's onto you, then other people can be onto you. So he orchestrates this meeting to meet the woman who has caught on, and he falls hard, and it's just so good. It is so good. I love them so much. 10, book that made you cry. I cry at books a lot. I will go into the emotions that you take me, right? I'm not a super critical reader, or at least I try not to be, because it does take the enjoyment of things out of it for me. So if I can skim on past your error or whatever, I will, because I'm seeking enjoyment rather than correction, if that makes sense. But what does this even mean? So if you are good enough of a writer to take me into my emotions, I am following wherever you're taking me, right? And I think this is part of why I don't like super emotional books, because I get super emotional about books that aren't super emotional. So the super emotional ones will like destroy me, and I don't want to be destroyed. I don't enjoy it. So lots of books have made me cry. Can't even tell you all of them. However, the most recent one was Kate Daniels' number 9. At the end in the battle, something happened and I was crying. I was just like, no. Yeah, I was very much in my feelings in that book. Like through that whole book, honestly, I was just like, oh, I'm so invested. Oh, I'm so stressed. Oh, I don't know. And then, yeah, at the battle, I cried. I did. Number 11, a book that made you happy. This is a weird answer, maybe, because the first book is kind of emotional also. But the Vegas Nights trilogy by Christina C. Jones, the first book does have a content warning for miscarriage. So the miscarriage happens before the book starts, but they're dealing with their grief and the aftermath of the miscarriage. So that is more than just like a passing mention. It is a focus of the book. So if you are not in the headspace to read about that, then maybe skip the first one. But the entire trilogy is novellas about 3 siblings. I can never remember if they're triplets or siblings because my brain. But I just adore this. I'm gonna reread this too. I adore this trilogy of novellas. The first one is a marriage in trouble, and he kidnaps her to make his wife work it out. The second one is what is the second one? Is it Second Chance? Is it Office? Let's look at it, shall we? The second book is Friends to Lovers, and Christina C. Jones doesn't like Friends to Lovers. She thinks that if they had the capacity for more, then why were they just friends? Like, if they wanted to become more, why were they just friends? And what is the believable reason that they switched from friends to a couple? And I feel the same way, and I thought that she pulled it off super duper well. I believed in them. I believed that they had a reason to go from genuine friend emotions to genuine couple emotions. And I also am not a fan of like one pining after the other, and that is not what she did either. So I was a big fan of that. And then the third one is older woman, younger man, motorcycle club, kinky stuff. And it was really good too. I adored the trilogy so much. I would recommend any one of the 3 individually, but I would really recommend the 3 as a whole. But like I said, the first one does have that content warning for miscarriage. And I just adored it. I adored it so much. It was exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed at the time when I was struggling through a reading slump. First of all, I adore Christina C. Jones. All encompassing. I adore her and her work. But I also really adore this trilogy. It's so good. Another one that made me happy was The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan. This one had so many surprises in it where I thought that it was going to go one way that I wouldn't like, and it went another way that I adored. And I can't tell you what they are. I can't tell you what any of them are, but just know that this book made me happy, and there is no third act breakup, which makes me hugely happy. So this is about a half Chinese duke and about the Chinese girl in the town of Wedgeford that he has been in love with for forever. And she doesn't believe that he's in love with her, even though she's in love with him. And he is trying to figure out a way to convince her that he wants to marry her. But also he doesn't want to expose her to the prejudice and all the snubs that he has to deal with from the nobility because of his Asian heritage, right? Chinese specifically. So he's conflicted because he adores her. And he doesn't know if it's selfish to try and drag her into the dukedom with him. And I loved it. I loved it. The relationship was so cute. The conversation the morning after had me dying laughing. I was laughing so hard. And I just really enjoyed the choices that Courtney Milan made with the story and where it went. I really, really enjoyed it. Number 12, most beautiful book that you have bought or received. And for me, this is my favorite cover of the year is Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier. I think that's how you say her last name. It's just so pretty. The color story in it is so pretty. I love the framing of it. And it's just so freaking pretty. I really like it. I am 3 chapters in and haven't read in a week because I haven't read anything in a week, but it very, very pretty. Then 13, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? This is the final question. So you guys know, if you watch me, I really don't do TBRs. I'm a mood reader. I don't force myself to read anything, but these are things that I would be disappointed if I have not gotten to by the end of the year. First of all, Kate Daniels, number 10. I will be devastated if another 6 months goes by and I haven't read this book. I would love to read it within the next month or so. I was really hoping to have already read it in June. That hasn't worked out, but I will be so sad if I have not read this final book by December 31st. Another one is White Rage by Carol Anderson. I started reading this book in January. I started reading it on January 6th and came out of reading it to the attack on the Capitol and was like, oh my god, history just cycling around, repeating itself. And so that was kind of heavy, if you will, that timing. And I want to say I'm maybe 50-ish% through this book, and it went back to the library and stuff, and I have not gone it back. I feel heavy every time I think about it, and I am trying to get myself into the headspace to read it. I will be disappointed in myself if I have not made it through this book by the end of the year. It is literally talking about the white reaction and pushback against Black people in America specifically anytime they make progress, and how white people are just like, nope, you stay where you're at and everything will be fine, but if you try and rise, we're going to crush you. And it's heavy. It's horrifying and not surprising and sucks. So, and the book is incredibly well written. So that one. Also, Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. I also DNF'd this because it went back to the library. I was struggling with reading. There's a theme here. And it's not very romance heavy, so I really want to finish this. This is an urban fantasy series where the gods are coming back to Earth. It has an Indigenous author, Indigenous main character, protagonist, also side characters mostly are Indigenous, I believe. And I don't know who the romance is with. I don't know. I think I know, but I don't know. And I just really want to continue it. She is not a mercenary. A bounty? No. She's really good at killing supernatural things. I remember what all I read. I would really like to finish that book. Probably what I'm thinking is I'll finish the Kate Daniels series, and then the Trail of Lightning will be my next urban fantasy that I pick up. So that one. Then I also have Amara and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. In January, I believe, Ashley from Bookish Realm read this, and she was just like, this is the next great thing. And I was like, oh, do tell. And it's middle grade, so it's not my normal thing. Although, of course, I've loved that in the past, but it's not what I pick up on a continuous basis. And her older brother goes missing, and she finds out that he was part of this investigative society maybe, and she is trying to find her brother, and she's trying to do all these things, and it sounds fantastic. So Ashley loved it. After Ashley read it, Bree from the Locked Booktician read it, loved it, and then I think after that Jess Owens read it, loved it. And so I want to read it, but I also have to be in the mood for middle grade. You said to a theme. I swear, if I could read on a TBR, if I could just be a pick what I read reader, it would be different. My life would be different, but that's not who I am. So, and the last one is wildly different, and it is The Risk by S.T. Abbey. I put this on my TBR in October of last year. Still haven't checked it out from Kindle Unlimited, but it is another pen name of an author that I enjoy, and it is a serial killer-ish reverse harem type thing. The books are pretty short. I've heard lots of good things about it, and I would really, really like to read it because I don't really drag books on my TBR forever, and it's my oldest book on my TBR on Goodreads. So I would really like to read that one. that's it. That's all the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag, and it was super fun as always. I love watching these. I just do. So thanks for watching. Bye.